let's get one thing straight here. This is at least better than Raw. A note to self, every other episode of SmackDown is better than Raw. Just pacing wise and watchability. That's all I could say. That's the passable positive reasons why people say, SmackDown has a good episode. It gets mediocre, bro. This was a mediocre episode of SmackDown in certain ways. And I have nothing against people that find like SmackDown better than Raw. I agree with them in certain aspects. But we had another opening promo that involved Cesaro, Bryan, Reigns, Uso, and Rollins over over Daniel Bryan trying to issue that Cesaro deserves a shot over for the world title. Like he's supposed to be doing this over the desperation that he's going to retire. He wants to be world champion, and he's trying to force over Adam Pearce numerous amount of times. Like work harder, try to get him title shot. Roman just issues over a title shot for his career, and then we had an impromptu tag team opener. So what would be the main event that would actually structuralize? Like we have one thing that I have that SmackDown has. It has an average structure, no star power. When you have guys that have no look or possibility that I could see them as a future world champion in the near future, or at least after Roman Reigns is like somewhere hurt, you already lose like the compel. Because I want to see a guy that looks like he can be on television. I want to look at a guy that looks like this guy can't be beat if I have him near a select amount of stars. The only person who looks like this is Roman Reigns, because the guy looks like he can be in a show or kick somebody's ass. And he looks like he goes to the gym other than Cesaro. And Cesaro is missing a personality and a lot of mic skills. And you can say, oh, nobody's wrestling will ever outdo their promo style or charisma. Ask RVD that and why he took it till 2006 until he was WWE champion. And he screwed himself up over that time when he won the world title and the ECW title at the same time. It's just a mandatory fact. If you have no connection over to let people believe in you as a character, you are going to F up. In the main event scene, and Vince is going to let you go. So the opener was a tag team match involving Cesaro, Daniel Bryan against Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. And it was a pretty alright tag team match. I didn't think this was that much of a dragged over opener. Even though it did drag on some missed points. The tag team match at the main event was a bit better. There was a round over of super kicks, enziguris. Pretty okay. It felt like a 20-minute match, even though I guess it was over 15. And I just think it didn't get anywhere because Roman was just issuing the authority. Roman is the world champion already, and they don't even display this over the show. I understand Roman is supposed to be the big guy in high command. He doesn't take orders from an authority figure, but Adam Pearce is like, I'll try. They don't illustrate that much of a story with the power of SmackDown. Because Adam Pearce is that much of a beta and has no personality or fun factor as a authority figure that it just makes me feel like, oh, Roman Reigns runs the show. It ends with the baby faces winning over, I think it ended over the sharpshooter after Rollins left Jey Uso high and dry. And he will step up next against Roman Reigns, and Apollo Crews will defend his IC title against Kevin Owens later in the show. Oh, God. Like, I'll do this about freaking Pat McAfee. He'll sell over the star, and he'll go over the strengths and weaknesses, what could be actually used over in the match. And the only positives I go over with Jey Uso, he can act. He's a great mid-carder, and he actually utilizes psychology. And how much I already pissed on the Young Bucks why they don't have that as an actual investment to get people into the goddamn match. Because I'm not gonna just see 17 moves in a match and feel like, is this getting anywhere? How is this gonna be a convenient finish if people keep utilizing these moves every week and they don't feel like they actually give a punch? Like, I feel like they can knock out a top guy. But the tag team match was good. I thought there were certain points that it dragged, but it was a good match. They even had Jey Uso in the swing for a numerous amount of times, just to see how much of Roman would really care to come out here to be a fighting champion and protect his cousin. He doesn't give a damn about his cousin. We already got this out straight. There was a promo involving Jey Uso earlier before. I already hate Jey Uso's position. I understand, like, they don't want to make him a central black sheep, or at least something more he can find his own way, or just have, like, they could tease him having a hidden hatred of Roman. They just make him. He literally has a shirt that's called Right Hand Man. That is depressing. Listen, there's nothing wrong being a loyal person, but if you have that part of the shirt and kids are going to buy that, that's going to admit that the kid is fine just being a sidekick. And no child in my wildest dreams I've seen in my life ever dreamed in the future to be a sidekick. They want to be a leader, or the cool person in the group, or the anti-hero. The kids want to be either Cyclops or Wolverine. And no one ever asked to be Nightcrawler other than having the abilities of Nightcrawler. They just want the ability of Nightcrawler. They don't want to be like a Nightcrawler. You feel me? So, we have Tamina with Natalya against Nia Jax in the match, like, every goddamn time. So, they're trying to sell over this feud after they just wrestled at Mania with Natalya trying to look like Sherry from the freaking Deuce and Domino tag team. With her, like, every time these chicks try to come over with Botox, Natalya sucks anyway. The match was forgettable. Like, really forgettable. Like, trash talk, except she wasn't cussing a lot like she did at Mania. There was a body slam, a big boot, a super kick. There was then some involvement involving Shayna Baszler. And then it ended with Reginald causing the victory. Tamina lost after a roll-up. And then that's it. Like, why continue this feud even though you're doing a storyline involving... Like, it's so stupid. It's like, you can do subplotted storylines, but you do that after the other one is done. Like, you're doing something involving Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose over an embarrassing angle involving you tripping all the time, and then they just go to you feuding with Tamina and Natalya over what? Aren't you guys both heel tag teams? With the F is the Riot Squad, I don't think they better be separate. They better be separate because Liv Morgan was getting a decent push as a singles chick after that whole Rusev and Bobby Lashley angle got afoot, and then she started going average until she lost to frickin' Charlotte Flair. Like, come on. Like, I don't like the direction of the women's division. It is piss poor, bro. I've tried my best to, like, not, like, shit talk on the women's division like I've did in the past, but you know it's true. WWE cares a dick, and it's not even on the Mickey James controversy. It's not. It's just that Vince either knows that his women aren't hot enough, interesting enough, or that compelling of a draw to even produce that much of even the female demographic of pro wrestling fans. So they put him over these piss poor angles to try to push over a narrative, and the fans leave in droves. Like, come on, man. So it ends with Natalya going through a sugar rush and then a cardiac arrest, getting angry with Reginald coming in. Like, we haven't seen Reginald in weeks. Then we had an IC title match, but before that we had a backstage segment involving Big E and Kevin Owens. Like, I'm here first. I didn't get my rematch because I heard recently we don't do rematch clause matches anymore. And that's kind of silly because didn't he have his... Didn't I mean, the former champion can't issue a rematch clause. That's so ridiculous. It, it makes no sense, and it doesn't accentuate tension at all. You got is like I can understand if you don't issue a rematch system, unless you have a ranking system. But thanks there's no ranking system to see who targets for the IC title or the world title. Why in the hell don't you have a rematch clause implemented? Your show is as already predictable as it can be. Come on. So we had a decent match involving Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and Apollo Crews. I'm sorry to say that. Spoiler alert: Sami Zayn interfered in a bit of the match to just integrate over a feud. So I guess they're gonna do a 4-way match involving in Backlash involving the IC Championship. That might be entertaining. That's all I can say. I guess this brings up string of importance because Kevin Owens before was targeting the world title. Now he's back over to the IC title. But the match was alright. We had a super kick over the outside, a drop kick. There was two cannonball sentons. It was a swanton bomb, but thanks to it was obviously not going to be used for the finish. Sami Zayn got involved. There was an average back and forth involving the big general interfering over the match, and then Apollo picked up over another roll up. Yes, it's 2 roll ups. Nobody can win using their own finisher anymore, folks, because you're a chicken shit heel or not that strong as the opponent, even though he lost several times to the world champion. So why can't Apollo's finisher be used as a dangerous maneuver? I don't know. That doesn't get Apollo over. It's just another chicken shit heel. I don't want to see that with a buff man that can do athletic crap and has like a pride character about him. Like it makes no sense. And then a rip off Samoan Spike, but it's now called the Nigerian Nail. Get it? Oh god. Then later on, Biggie out of nowhere just assaults Apollo because they still want to integrate their feud going in, involving the general getting pissed off because he left his post. Shouldn't his job be always near his guy at all time? What was he doing in the locker room? Just taking a sip of a Red Bull or some crap? It was just stupid. But I don't mind this. They also had Aleister Black returns on television telling an amazing tale. And it just felt like that crap I saw back when they were hyping up Rollins and Finn Balor's feud up for SummerSlam 2016, when he was trying to give some explanation why his name means Demon King, and it was so exponentially corny. And it's like, okay, is this supposed to give lore over to his personal backstory, over what he thinks about the company, or I don't mind the imagery. All I know is just Aleister Black just looks like Marty Scurll wearing a suit that does kicks and has tattoos. That's about it. I'm not trying to diminish everything over with the Dark Father in the book about the truth. Like if he did something that he was a down to earth, like tells the truth how it is character, like nearly something is like Sean O'Hare that you saw being a devil's advocate and doing cryptic stuff like that. That would be more interesting than whatever the fuck I was watching over with Aleister Black. I can understand people like, oh my god, this fits over with his character real good. Do we even know anything about Aleister Black's character? I'm just saying. Hopefully he gets more interested. So we also saw Caleb Braxton with a bad tan going over uh Ziggler and Robert Roode during the Dirty Dogs until the Street Profits intercept with tense stare down, trying to get like their amazing feud. Like, God, haven't you guys lost to them twice? And it's not even on pay-per-view. They retained the 3-way title match that you were involved in. They beat you again. Then they beat you again in multi-tag matches. Why are the Street Profits still an essential threat for the tag team titles? Add a new tag team to the main roster or something. Don't SmackDown have less superstars than Raw? Shouldn't they even it out? I don't really care. And Bayley made this freaking worse. At least she finally dresses up like a female for once. Announcing herself like, I'm so glad being the #1 contender, wishing you the bestest luck, and then she comes around for crappy laugh. Yes, Jay Leno gets a shot for the women's title again, after she literally has lost several times to Bianca Belair when she was the Rumble winner, like at least a few times over on pay-per-view. I mean, on SmackDown, not even on pay-per-view. She lost her clean, by the way. Have been given like MVP Matt Hardy vibes over with her stupid obstacle course segment. It just came up looking disinteresting, and it just forced over that, oh, just now Bayley just gets a shot. Sasha doesn't even gets a rematch, even though you have a title of Backlash that's supposed to be essential for rematch purposes. But Bayley gets a shot because she's the longest reigning women's champion. But nobody ever said that the title reign was good. I just hear that she's the longest reigning women's champion. Nobody ever tells me that they remember a great match off Bayley, or a great segment off Bayley, or a great anything off Bayley. She's just there, and she's just, oh, because she's put 4 horsewomen, she's obviously got to be a legitimate contender. You're not drawing any money with Bayley, and they better not main event Backlash with Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the women's title. Like they're not going to do that. She just laughs it out and walks away. That's the end of the promo. All I can say now is possibly Aleister Black. This is gonna be him like beating up a couple jobbers. He's possibly gonna get another forgettable reign with the IC title, or feud for the IC title. Whatever bad booking gets along, he's possibly going to be underwhelming because I just don't think he's that interesting, to be honest. I've seen great matches off Aleister Black. Don't get me wrong. He's just been tagging with Ricochet, and he had good matches with Buddy Murphy, but anything to explorate his character that shows that he's a good promo, had an interesting physique, other than he has tattoos, has a fade with a ponytail, and does kicks. I could just sign Marty Scurll. At least he has a villain character about him that he's technically supposed to be the cheaply villainized character that's undersized and has cool merch. I'm sorry, Plague Doctor artwork just looks more interesting than whatever the hell Aleister Black is. I don't. And that's possibly WWE's fault for not exploring the character of Aleister Black, but what really was he in the indies other than whatever I saw him just kicking people? Sorry, this is not... I'm a WWE fan. I'm not going to always get, like, the interest of why these guys are good other than good wrestlers. That's about it. And if you're expecting a guy to be pushed all because he's a good wrestler, you are expecting at least a bare minimum 5 years. 5 years, or 4 years at most in the WWE. And I'm shocked WWE's not looking at any of these guys as longevity guys, because they don't look at young guys anymore. They look at just 30-year-old experienced indie guys. The only young guy over in the show is Dominic. And there should be more younger stars like Dominic, but with better physiques. I'm just saying. Dominic looks like he's going to be in a Twitch stream involved for freaking Warzone in a bit. Like, come on. He doesn't look like he can kick my ass if he got drunk on a fight. So the Mysterious face off against Alpha Academy, and they've been feuding, like, they're not technically feuding because there was no rhyme or reason why they're wrestling each other, other than a reason for Otis to be heel. Even though they were essentially babyface, but here's the match. And I have to say, it was a cool match. Decent, great chain wrestling off Gable and Dominic. Dominic, he seems to gel a lot over in the ring. Decent back and forth, but God, he needs to go to the gym. If he gets a bit more bulky, like at least a bit built and muscle tone. Because the guy's young, so he can still build up a bit more muscle in just a couple months. And he just gets out of wearing the Power Ranger Rey Mysterio late 90s crap. I can take him a bit more potential as a threat. Hurricane Ronda, that was a cool baseball side sunset flip over to the barricade. Coolest move of the match. I think it was to Gable. back and forth. There was, I think, a cutoff on the Caterpillar, and then it ends with the Mysterios picking up a win off a splash. Pretty good match. Shouldn't have been the main event, though. My opinion, if it wasn't a number one contenders match, or they were at least building anything about this should never be the main event, in my opinion. This was a good match, but shouldn't have been the main event. And it just wasn't. I guess because it wasn't a good looking main event, they just had to fondle over to the ending segment involving Daniel Bryan getting a shot for the Universal title for probably the last time with his career on the line, and the whole fans in the Thunderdome goes crickets, goes freaking crickets. And I don't know why Daniel takes much to even get Cesaro over, even though he lost to him several times on SmackDown. And then Cesaro tried to issue, like, doesn't he want a shot for the world title? But Daniel just gets it next week because you haven't defended it on SmackDown lately. Oh my god, you barely even wrestle on SmackDown. Because when I'm a champion, I want to wrestle every week. It is so bland. I try not to go over it that fondly, but is this nearly the same babyface whenever you see anybody turn babyface? And it's nearly the same heel whenever you see people turn heel in the main event scene. It's either you see a chicken shit heel that defends his title only on pay-per-view, wrestle in a tag team match, and looks like a weakling even though the guy's possibly built, like Roman Reigns, or the babyface that wrestles every week, does it for the fans, is a fighting champion, and he'll defend it at any means necessary. Nobody has a defining personality whenever you see them as babyface or heel. That dynamic is really agitating because it's truly competitive, and when you have a repetitive character type, when it comes to being a bad guy or a good guy, nobody's going to be that interested. But yeah, that's the SmackDown review. I thought it was mediocre. There was an alright tag team main event, but this shouldn't have been the main event. We have a lack of star power. And the opening tag team match was pretty alright. The women's match was bad. And we know that we're possibly going to get a future 4-way involving the IC title scene. But I'm expecting alright matches out of most of this. People are just thinking that all they want to see is great matches. Bro, I want to see a good show with cool characters. I don't really care if, like, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens does a 7-star match. That shouldn't be in anybody's mentality instead of selling tickets and getting notoriety for more people to watch. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.